Well, my queens are here. It's time to go install them. I wanted to show you what it looks like on a colder day. It's in the 60s today, and you can see how few bees are willing to go outside. Now, that's okay, but what it means as a beekeeper is when the weather's bad, the bees are usually mean because these bees that are typically out foraging are usually the ones that are the most grumpy and likely to sting, and so if they're not out, that means they're inside, and that means they're going to be pretty crabby about me opening the hive. And you'll get a sense of that in a little bit. So first, let me show you the queens that I bought. It's not a great video, but these are little cages. You can see the little black tubes at the top. Those are full of fondant that they'll eat their way through over the next few days, and then they'll get released. And the time it takes for them to eat allows the other hive to accept them as a new queen, and that's part of the process. These are Buckfast queens, which are supposed to be some of the most gentle queens out there. So we'll see how that goes. So you can see me trying to work my way through this hive to try to get everything in there, and if you saw right in the very beginning, I kind of stepped back, and that's because as soon as I opened the box, a bee stung me in the leg. That's how mean they are today. So the first thing I've got to do is get through all the hives to get to the bottom to put queens in. And so you can see how much I'm smoking because the bees are just, they're vicious. They're all over me, constantly trying to get me. So I'm trying to show you what this really looks like. You can see the bees just flying around everywhere. This is not quite that normal. They're usually not as up in the air about things as they are today. And so they're all over me, they're in my face, they're hitting my gloves, they're bumping my legs, I can smell the smell of bananas when they're stinging. So I knew this was going to be part of the day, and it just doesn't make it very fun. I was hoping you'd see them flying in my face, but not very easy to see. But back to it. So the basic deal is you're going to see me install a queen, and essentially I need to do this in 3 hives. So I have to go through and see what's going on, and for every one of them I need to make sure there is not a laying queen, because otherwise they'll kill each other. So I'm just double checking there's no signs of queens in any of this, no laying, no eggs, no anything. This is me walking away because it's just getting too hot. So here's the queen in my hand, and it's time to go put her in. You may have seen a quick little white dot, and that's because the queen's been painted white. And that's just a common, there's a color coding system for marking queens depending on how old they are. So you can see all the bees all over me. You can see how much they're going after the queen when I do this. They're just everywhere. This is all it takes. You just kind of put them in there. I could have put her a little lower and then jammed up embedded her into the wax a little bit, but it doesn't matter as long as she doesn't fall. That's really the only thing. You can see they're all over it already. So this cage protects her from the bees trying to kill her for being a foreign queen. You can see how the bees are just going crazy as soon as they even get close to it. These are all bees that want to sting me. They're not saying hi, they're saying go away. And so I'm just crushing these things together so that box gets wedged in. And because I didn't wedge it all the way in, I can't really put that last green frame in, which is okay. I'll be back in a few days. So that was the first hive. Now we get to do it again on the top hive. Can you hear how loud this is? That's the sound of an angry hive. Okay, same deal. Check to see if there's signs of life. Put a queen in. Now these I already had checked, so I was really pretty confident already, but the thing is, when a new queen hatches, she has to take off to mate. And so even if you inspect one day and the queen's not there, it doesn't mean she won't return from a mating flight and then be there, suddenly laying eggs. So you still have to check. Today, putting these queens in felt a lot like playing Where's Waldo. Of course, with the added benefit that you get stung if you're taking too long. So you can see me kind of clumsily trying to get this in here, and it's just one of those things where I just don't quite have enough hands or dexterity with the gloves and the tool to wedge it in there and all that stuff. So I'm just being kind of clumsy about it. But yeah, that's it. You just jam it in there, clamp it in between the frames. I want to get these further embedded into the wax just for more stability, and so I can actually put them all back together nice. But that's what it kind of looks like. It's about the whole process right there. Now there is a risk that even though after 3 days they don't get out, there's a risk that they get killed. So I do have to come back in 3 days to make sure everything's good. And another part of helping hives accept a queen is, one is they don't want a queen. If they don't have one, they'll be inclined to accept one. But the other thing that helps is if you feed them a lot. So showing you those bees there just clumped up, and I have to shake them out. And on to the next hive, where I get to go through the same thing again. But this hive's temperament is completely different. It's not happy, but it's not as mean. And here you go. So here's a little bit about queen stuff, because I'm going to be working through just what you saw before. And the basic thing that's interesting about queens is every bee in that hive, of course, has that queen's genetics and the genetics of whatever drones she mated with. You can see me right here reaching into my pocket because I found the queen in this hive, and I'm going to put her in a clip. Because I've decided I'm going to put the queen that I bought into this hive, and at the time that I'm doing this, I'm thinking she's just going to die. I'm going to kill her. But I'm putting her in a clip for now. And so there she is. I set her aside and back to work. And I'll show you her in just a second here. And there she is in that clip. Not too easy to see. There she is at the top of it. Yep. And so, you know, just 2 days ago, she was not mated. She had not started laying eggs, but now she is. And so there are eggs and brood in there, which is great news. But now I'm installing the queen. So I was saying before about every bee in here has got the genetics of the queen and the drones she mated with. And so if you're a beekeeper for a long time, you begin to observe the traits that these hives have. Aggression, gentleness, productivity. And so you start to develop a stronger opinion about what kind of queen you want and why. So as I was working that hive, I had an idea, because I had this queen. And the idea was, maybe I could make another hive. And so I brought over this little nuke that I'd made a swarm trap out of, that you saw in the previous video, and I decided, let me see if I have enough stuff to make a new split. So I'm going through the bottom one, which I never really tampered with. It has a queen, it's all good. And I'm seeing if there's a frame or two I could steal safely. And there is. It's not a really big split, but it could work. And so now what you're seeing me do is go through every frame playing Where's Waldo to find the queen. And sure enough, she was on the first frame I put in there. And so I have to like carefully pick her up and put her back in the big one. And you can see me just grabbing her and putting her away. And then I'm rebuilding the nuke and I'm putting in that queen clip in there, just like I'd done those little boxes. And I'll come back in 3 days and make sure she's free in there. She may die, it may not work, but that's the plan. So that's me getting a 5th hive, potentially, if everything works out well. So I'm reassembling, feeding, and we're back in business. So I might have 5 hives this year instead of the 4 that I was really thinking about. And I'm stepping away for a minute to go feed that little nuke hive and bundle up sticks in front of the entrance, just to keep them all from flying back to this hive. And it may or may not work. It's kind of tricky to get bees to be where you want them to be because they have their own opinions about things, but there you go. Went to go requeen and wound up with maybe 5 hives.